Hello, fellow Star Wars fans, Switch Upper here. I decided to talk about something that is important to me, but I don't know if this is something is important to the others. But at least to me, it is important to talk about, and that is the Star Wars timelines. And wow, it has two different timelines, and what else can say it is crazy. And you may wonder what I'm talking about. Well, you see, after 1980s, when the last Star Wars movie was made before the new ones in the early 2000s and in 1999, there was only one timeline of Star Wars, and that was from the year 4 ABY, which means 4 years after the Battle of Yavin. There was only one timeline from that. But then after 2014, those old Star Wars comics, books, all that resources or sources or materials, books, everything from that materials was spread into one timeline. The expanded universe, or also known as Legends. And now the new ones from episode 7 and onwards belongs to the Canon timeline, which expands from the year 4 ABY to 34 ABY. But from the Legends timeline, it's going from 4 ABY to 140 ABY. That means 140 years after the Battle of Yavin. But come on, why do they need two different timelines? And since they had these old ones, the old timeline for at least a number of years before they made the new Star Wars movies and even that. And all of this, all the legend timeline, everything from the materials like the books, comics, anything, they have been still considered as being non-canon. So why is those resources always that material as non-canon? Because though that timeline was even long before the new canon came, that it makes sense. Why to have two different timelines from legend and canon? Which timelines is the best? Is the legend or the canon? In legend, it has much longer timeline, and the Galactic Civil War lasted for another 15 years, almost 19 years later, but it ends in canon. It ends the 5th ABY, only a year after Battle of Endor. In legend, the Galactic Empire falls in only 4 ABY at Battle of Yavin, but also the New Republic in Legends formed at the same time after Battle of Endor, but it falls several years later. But in canon, the New Republic was formed at the same time as just time after Battle of Endor, but is still active in the 34 ABY. But at the same time in the legend, that had fallen has been replaced by a new type of government. So why did it need another new timeline? It didn't make sense. And for me personally, why would it need a new timeline? I mean, it's kind of crazy and it's not really makes sense. Since in the canon timeline, from the new ones, the new Star Wars movies, Han Solo dies at 44 ABY, and Luke dies as well in that timeline. But in Legends story timeline, it doesn't happen. Luke, he dies sometime between 47 and 138 BBY. And Han, he doesn't die. The last recording of his actions takes place around 45 ABY. and that means more than 10 years after, even 10 years longer than in the canon timeline. The legend stories has that he has 3 children, 2 sons and 1 daughter, twins and younger son. And in the legend, in canon, he has only 1 son. So why did they have to change another timeline from a legend or the canon? When I first heard about Force Awakens, okay, I thought maybe they will continue from Return of the Jedi with the same all the material source that they have from the books, comics, to continue the story from episode 6 and onwards. But no! When I saw it, and it was mind-blowing, I would have thought, okay, this is going to be something unusually different timeline. Or it is going to be something different that they haven't put something between. I thought, okay, if this happened with episode 7 with Force Awakens with only 30 years after, then I thought maybe there could be a new type of source of information that took place after just 30 years after the Battle of Endor. But it didn't do it. They put an entire new timeline in it. New type of characters. It didn't make sense. Most of this timeline has been different from many others. Like when Han Solo dies. He didn't die most of his stories. Because one of the characters was Gil Akbar, or the Emerald. He dies in a legend stories. He dies about 29 ABY, but in canon he dies at 34 ABY. So, according to with that stories and with the legend of from Han and Luke's part of it in the canon and from the legend. At the same time, in legend, Luke marries and gets a son, and in legend canon, he does get married and has no children. So, why would they have to put a new timeline from the old ones? I don't understand why. There's no reason to put a new timeline separating from the old ones and declare the old timeline from the comics, books, and all of those sources they have declared them a non-canon. So, what do I think about that? That is just stupid. This is crazy to put another timeline and change all the history. In the canon, Star Wars has been a lot of different. In episode 7, Force Awakens, it was like they remake in episode 4 with the first Death Star. It was the same, almost like Starkiller based. It was like almost as, a third Death Star. But about Death Star, in Legends, there were not only 2 Death Stars, but only 3 actually. There was a third Death Star, but that one was much smaller than the other 2 ones. But that was destroyed even. So, why would they put another timeline? It doesn't make sense. Sure, people like the new Star Wars series and the Rogue One, which explains some part of how the rebels able to get hands of the Death Star's plans, which, yeah, but in that from the part, it doesn't make sense. Why to create a new timeline when you only had one that lasts for almost 100 years after the Battle of Endor? In Legends, all the old heroes have children. The New Jedi Order forms, and they had this intergalactic invasion from the Yuzhang Wang Wong, or if I mispronounce it right. But still, it doesn't make sense. It is beyond what I even thought about when I saw The Force Awakens. I was hoping to see most part. I was really hoping to when I first heard about the movie. I was hoping to see parts from all the legend stories in the new movie. But no, 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 no. I was not. How could I even believe it? So people are saying maybe the new Star Wars movies are even better than the original ones and the later ones. I don't know if I had to say if they are right or wrong. But according to my own opinion about the new Star Wars timeline, what do I think about it? Well, like I said earlier, it's crazy, but still. The new Star Wars timeline from Canon side is the most ridiculous part of the new timeline. I mean, when you had one for years, why had to declare the old ones as non-canon and then put a new ones? I thought maybe this could make it, I don't know, somehow make it work better with a new timeline. If if Lucas had even sold his rights to Star Wars, and if he had made the seventh season, episode 9, 7 to 9, it would likely be canon from the first timeline. I mean, if you had a timeline from the first one, why wouldn't you just put a movie series based from the comic stories from episode 6 just sometime afterwards and beyond to almost to the 140 years after Battle of Endor? It would be awesome to see a new type of series if they could continue the Star Wars series from sometime from the year after Battle of Endor until to the series end of the Legends timeline, like from Cade Skywalker, Luke Skywalker's descendant, which would be much awesome to see his families continue his legacy to reform this new Jedi Order and see the Republic rise and new Republic rise and fall, and then just replaced by this new governments and over, and just see this new intergalactic space invasion and seeing its then later on a new one Sith has been replaced by the rule of two to only one controlled galaxy and so much over. But no, in the new Star Wars timeline they have been replaced the Dark title and Sith with some new dark side user which had an apprentice. Why would they all this? I mean, they had this Star Wars side for years. And it was after 2014 that they split the timeline into two and made the legend stories into non-canon and then make the new ones canon. What happens if the next Star Wars trilogy that was going on after episode 9? What happens if they make a third timeline and make the second one maybe just perhaps part non-canon and the first one would not even be used? What would it make sense that if they made another timeline? I mean, to put some new stories put in from just Battle of Endor between 5 ABY and to 134 BBY. It doesn't make sense. And even to put Star Wars Rebels in the new canon and not in Legends. And sure, we will get more details about what happens before the Rebel Alliance was even formed, how this was even formed, because in Legends that was formed with help from Galen Mark, and with Bail Organa, Mothma, and some other senators and authorities. But still, in that Legends, they have that detail. But in canon, with Star Wars Rebels, we get to know at least part of the story that were just a lot of cells that bring back together as one alliance. But in Legends, we have more detail how that even worked. Even in Star Wars Legends, Star Wars Rebels, that is a completely different detailed about it. So all of this, what can I say from the new timeline? Well, I think the new Star Wars movie from episode 7 and 9 and onwards, that movies will be considered to me non-canon. Because those new stories has no part of the old one. I mean, it's crazy. So, from episode 6 and before to all of the stories before that is canon for me, and no one's is non-canon. I don't know if people will be upset with what I think. I don't know if very many people who is Star Wars fans among my fans and viewers, if they take this as an offensive if I put the new Star Wars canon timeline as non-canon. I'm saying this, I'm not doing this to offend anyone. This is just only my opinion of what I think about the new timeline of Star Wars. Because in the old one they had much more history, more years, and it has gone over 100 years in the future. But in this new timeline it was only 30 years. So I'm not saying this to offend people. I'm only saying that this is just based on my own opinions about this new timeline. And if anyone has their own opinions, I would like to hear about what in the comment box below. And as always, subscribe, leave a comment, and as always, this is Switch Diablo over and out.